So do you think the College Football Playoff Committee got it right, Joel? What do you think?
Well, they got the best 4 teams, which is what they're charged to do. As long as they didn't – I think as long as they didn't factor in a potential rematch with Bama and Georgia in the semifinal, then you can't argue with what they did. Alabama's resume is really good. Michigan's resume is really good. And I think that, both of those teams would have been deserving number 1 teams. The appearance that there was an avoiding of this semifinal of Georgia-Alabama, I don't love that. Now, they said that didn't take place, so I don't want to knock them for something that they're claiming didn't take place. But having said that, I actually think it would have been better to rematch them and just say, listen, we're not going to allow you access to a national championship, just because we think you're good, Georgia, and you're better than Cincinnati because you didn't win a conference championship. That's always been my problem with this model, and it's not going to be fixed anytime soon. Maybe in expansion we can do some things with the language that honor and incentivize the conference championship. But until that happens, this is kind of what you're going to get, and it's certainly not something that Michigan fans wanted to see. You didn't want to see Alabama win because you knew that Georgia matchup was coming down the road.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joel, in all honesty, this is house money to me, and I figure, if Michigan's going to reach the promised land, which words I never thought I would say into this microphone, truly, they're going to have to beat the best anyway, and if they're going to have to go through the top 2 teams of the SEC with due respect to Cincinnati, then so be it. But I didn't get the whole concept of, they don't want to rematch them and being so what? So New Year's Eve, folks will be just you know what? I'm not interested in Alabama and Georgia. I saw that a month ago. Really? I mean, I don't know about that. And in the same way, what people will be less interested on January 10th because we saw it on December 4th. I don't know. I mean, that's to me is more than just a regional game, even though it is technically a conference rematch. I mean, it still would be a month apart, right?
The ratings would suggest, and I don't have them right in front of me, but it was not a very well watched game, if you would say it that way. When Georgia and Alabama played in the national championship a few years ago, when Tua came in off the bench as a freshman.
Huh.
And I think that, there are some, me included, that think that if we do get Georgia and Alabama, I don't think that that's great for the sport. I don't think these rematches within conferences, without an expanded playoff, are good for the sport because it's such a narrow window to get included into the playoffs that this purely subjective measure of 4 best versus 4 most deserving, I think has hindered the sport's popularity, to be quite honest with you. And it's made it more regional, and it's made fan bases in other parts of the country, come up with theories and of bias and such that could be true or not true. And so I think that if we can get away from that, it would be better. Rich, I think that we need to go to a 12-team playoff in college football. I think that we need to have the 6 best champions across the sport, conference champions. We need to seed them 1 through 6. The 4 best champions have to win your conference championship, would get a bye. And then the next 4 best teams would host first-round games. And that's ways that we can incentivize not only being great, but winning your conference championship and giving you a distinct advantage at the kickoff of this playoff. One of the things that you think about is that we played this SEC championship game, and it's basically just for their SEC championship trophy because Georgia and Alabama get to play on the exact same footing. No one got an advantage over the other in this very narrow playoff and this 4-team subjective race that we have now in this beauty pageant. And I think that's when we're raised as American sports fans to look at who's being incentive, where's the incentive lie in terms of postseason and who's earning the advantage in the postseason. And then we see what happens in college football. I think we all kind of sit there and pause and think to ourselves, well, this isn't right.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.